Almost all of your pistol shooting issues can be solved by focusing on 4 things. Let's talk about it. Hey y'all, welcome back to the ConcealedCarry.com channel. I am Tyler with Synergy Training Group, and today we're going to talk about the 4 things I think you should focus on for good pistol shooting success. I'd like to start off by saying none of these are more important than the other. They are all of the same importance, and they all must work together. It's almost like I chose my business name for a reason. So let's go over them. This is going to be sort of a brief overview, and then we'll do some separate videos, deeper diving into each individual one, hopefully on the range, so I can exemplify some things as well. It's pretty hard for me to get out on the range and video it all at the same time. Closest range I can do that to me is near an hour away, so it's pretty tough. All right, first up on my list, again, no order of importance here, sights and vision. Almost everybody's pretty much putting a red dot on their pistol these days. And if you haven't already, I would strongly urge it, so long as you have the means to do it. That includes the probably 6 months or so of dry fire, like 3 to 4 times a week dry firing to get used to that optic being in the same spot every single time, so you're not fishing for it on your presentations. But if you're still using irons, totally fine. You still need to work really hard on knowing your point of aim and point of impacts for various ammo, especially for your social ammo. You should definitely be working on trying to be target focused as well. If you don't already have some sort of blacked out rear and high vis front sight, you should probably get those put on there. Those are going to make it a little easier to pick up without too much visual noise in the rear of the gun. But for my red dot people, again, you're probably riding the struggle bus of getting dot focused like all of us are at times. We got to put in a lot of work at being target focused, not so much worrying about that dot. So maybe some occluded dry fire is in your future. What is occluded shooting? One cleared gun here with a barrel block. Occluded shooting would be where you took a piece of tape, or if you take a piece of tape and put it over the front lens of your optic. So you can still see the optic superimposed on your target. This is usually best done by presenting the dot in front of your non-dominant eye so that your dominant eye can focus on the target, and then the non-dominant eye just kind of superimposes a red dot onto the target. Full transparency, I can't do that because I can only have usable vision out of one eye. So still something worth practicing and trying. I don't really see a need for carrying that way or competing that way necessarily. A lot of people do it, and by a lot, I mean you'd have to be in the competition world and see it frequently to really understand what a lot is. In retrospect, it's really not that many people overall, but worth trying. All right, so sights and vision. We've got to learn how to be target focused, not just target focused, but learning how to see specific spots on the targets that we want to shoot instead of just seeing an overall shape of target with whatever color it is, and then seeing our sights on top of it and being like, yep, that's good enough, squeeze trigger. Especially for subsequent shots or shots in succession, you're going to see a large spread if you're just putting sights over acceptable target area and wailing at it instead of seeing a very finite specific spot on the target. I'm getting a little tongue tied here. That's a lot of the same syllables lined up. But seeing a specific spot on the target and then locking the sights to that spot, and then being aware of how the sights are tracking. Start learning how to do predictive shooting. You're starting to really get into the grip instructor side of things, because this, you got to have this basically perfect, near perfect, to start to get into predictive shooting. And then those two start working together to tell each other which one is kind of falling behind. This is going to require a lot of nuance in their individual sections. So, but you gotta be really in tune with your sights and vision. You got to work on making sure you're target focused, picking specific spots on the target, not being lazy with your vision. I fell down that bad rabbit hole when I started out shooting, and I wish I could had a time machine. I could go back and change that. But that's just a brief overview. There's more to it. Let's move on for the sake of time. Triggering the gun. Not like triggering easily offended people, but like triggering the gun, as in actuating the trigger. What do I mean by that? You've got to learn how to trigger the gun without moving it. I didn't reset the trigger all the way. You'll notice a lot of movement in the gun when you're smashing through the trigger or pulling through the trigger in your dry fire. If you'll just look at the gun, look at the front of the sight and see how much it moves as you pull the trigger. You'll see it kind of move. Well, one of the things you should work on a lot is an exercise called trigger press at speed, where you're essentially just pressing the trigger as fast as you can from different spots. So all the way forward in the trigger guard, just touching the trigger, and then trigger prepped. If you have a timer, you can set it to random or whatever, and as it beeps, you'll look at your sights on a small spot, and on the beep, smash through it and see how much it moves. And the goal here is to be able to trigger the gun without much movement. It's going to move some. Okay, there's no way to make it not move at all, but we gotta be in tune with how acceptable that the movement is. All right. If it's not acceptable, if the sights is jumping out of where you're aiming to an unacceptable area, then you need to fix some pressures and engagements and all those things in your grip and structure, and keep smashing through it until you can trigger the gun without moving it. There's a popular video of Rob Latham at a match saying, if you don't know how to shoot the gun without moving the gun, then aiming is useless. I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact words he said, but that's essentially the idea here. So you gotta learn how to trigger the gun without moving it. Grip and structure. You've got to figure out what best works for you as far as being locked into the gun. What engagements work best for you? Well, I'll go over my way of approaching this. It's different from a lot of people's ways. In the deeper dive section, videos later on type of thing. The end goal of a good grip and structure is to be able to present the gun and have a grip and structure that is reliable, repeatable, and durable. All right, you must be able to rely on it in such a way that the dot's going to be exactly where you want it after transitions, reload, manipulations, draws, things of that nature. You must be able to rely that it's going to be there and in the same way and ready for you to make it go bang, trigger it. All right, it must be repeatable. Again, every single time you move it, it must be in the same type of way. And then it must be durable. So successions of fire, strings of fire, your grip doesn't break down, that non-dominant hand doesn't start falling off, and that dominant hand starting getting too dominant, too aggressive behind, start pulling shots, then you're starting to trigger the gun, moving it type of thing. So you've really got to focus on the grip and structure behind the gun. Huge gains will be made from grip and structure and triggering. Then learning predictive shooting, but again, we're starting to go on some deep nuances. The last thing I think you should really be focusing on in your practice is the draw. You must be able to produce the gun in an efficient manner with a reliable, repeatable, and durable grip. All right, so that the sights line up with the vision and the spot that you are aiming at. And then you also, again, must be able to trigger without moving it, but it all starts with the draw. However you choose to carry, whether it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, appendix, ankle, shoulder, rig, whatever you choose, you've got to be efficient with it. Mr. Jack Wilson of the church in Texas years ago, man, it's wild to think that's been years ago. If y'all go back and watch that video, the first gentleman that was unfortunately killed with the shotgun, he actually tried to draw a gun 3 times. About the third time is when the bad guy with the shotgun killed him. But he drew for a gun and missed all 3 times. He couldn't produce a reliable draw, an efficient, reliable draw. And that's very unfortunate. That's just an unfortunate example of why this is so important. Things to look for in your draw: consistency and efficiency. Making sure there's no excess movements. All right, you're getting the gun to into play as efficiently and quickly as possible. And then you can consistently do it from all sorts of positions. All right, hands behind back, or hands in pockets, crouched down, leaned up against something, trying to hide so that they don't see you draw the gun. Movement, maybe a little bit move to cover, things of that nature. You've got to, I mean, you can even start with like some crazy behind the head draw and see how fast you can get the gun into play. The draw is a big part of it. Work on these 4 things in your dry and live fire and start seeing those huge improvements. Stay tuned to the channel. I will do a deeper dive into each one of these. Again, hopefully on the range so we can demo some things. And yeah, y'all get to work. Let me know in the comments some aha moments y'all found through these. If there's anything you agree with or don't agree with, hit me in the comments. I'll answer any and all questions you have. Till then, y'all have a good one.